I'm really excited about this one. I know some of you guys are too. We got some special guests here tonight. Adam Coleman with the Cypress Creek Mirror and Zac Babb with Varsity Wires and TSRN Radio. I've gotten to know these guys pretty well just from working, in what I do, sending out press releases and kind of working with them and seeing how they cover things. And I feel like we're in a very special time right now with the coverage that's given to our district, because we have a guy like Zac who's self-started himself, his company. He's just given some amazing coverage. He's got a website that he just did on his own, and just getting his foot in the door with the radio and being at all the games. And it's just amazing what he does while also being a student, which you'll hear a little bit about when he gives his bio. And then Adam coming in and just taking social media by storm and just creating such a huge following. And I just think it's amazing the coverage that we're getting right now. And so I really wanted to bring them in and give you guys some hands-on conversation about how they do what they do and how you guys can get your foot in the door if you guys are pursuing careers in sports journalism or journalism in general. So we'll go ahead. The way this is going to start, we're going to give each of them a few minutes to kind of introduce themselves and talk about what they do. And then we'll open it up for questions from the audience for about 15-20 minutes, however long it takes. And both of them have agreed to stay afterwards if you guys want to take photos or ask some follow-up questions or selfies or whatever you want to do. So feel free to do that. But we'll go ahead and we'll start with Adam, and then we'll go with Zac.
Okay. My name is Adam Coleman. These days I'm better known as Cypher Sports. I got my start in sports journalism. It was actually pretty random. I didn't do this in high school. I really didn't have any thought process about doing this. I had no knowledge about this business. But when I got to college, I went to Texas Tech University, and I decided to major in journalism. It was something that I was interested in. And I felt like if this was something I was interested in, I'm going to really test myself and see if it's something that I love. So I decided to join the Daily Toreador as a student. Reckham, I see you right there. The student newspaper at the school, Texas Tech University. So I started out as a freshman, and they gave me a shot. I was just interested. The first thing that I covered was women's tennis, and I thought it was the best thing ever. I thought it was the height of my career, and I loved it so much. I really did, and I just decided to learn the business, try to grow within the business, try to get better every day. And just try to teach myself and learn from others and just kind of be a sponge, which is what you kind of have to do in this business. And as a freshman, I went from women's tennis to men's basketball, and eventually I got to cover football and Big 12 football with Mike Leach and Michael Crabtree back when they were really winning games, and that was a lot of fun to cover. And I eventually, my junior year in college, became a sports editor at that paper. I got a chance to be editor-in-chief for a while. I got a chance to do an internship with the company I work for now, Houston Community Newspapers. I just continued to pursue this, and I did this all 4 years in college and decided to pursue a career in this. And I got my first job when I graduated from college in 2010 in Big Spring, Texas. Very, 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 yeah, you know where it is. Very, very small town. Really not that small, it's like 25,000 people, but some very small towns around it, like one stoplight, one HEB, one Walmart, that's it. The same place you grocery shop is the same place you go get your school clothes. You see the same people every day, but people love their football out there, and I loved being out there. I was a sports editor for the paper there for about a year before I had a chance to come back here in Houston and work for the company I work for now. And they started me out in Katy, and we had an ownership change, and they switched me over to Cypress, and one of my bosses came up to me and said, hey, here's his Twitter account, do something with it. Here it is, here's a password, do something with it. It had 90 followers, and this was about like maybe 3 years ago. Had 90 followers. So I got the idea to try to push the Twitter thing with from my former coworker, Corey Repkin, who works for the Chronicle now. He had something similar going on in Fort Bend, and his Twitter following grew before he left. So I decided to take that and just kind of put my own style, my own swag to it. So I took that, put my biopic up there, and just decided to tweet updates, follow athletes, follow parents, follow coaches, and it eventually grew. And I remember Cy Ranch Baseball winning the state championship, and from there it just kind of went from 90 to 200, from 200 to 500 to 1,000. Then football came, and it got to 2,000, 3,000, and now today it's at 9,013. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think it's 9,013, and it's kind of become what I'm most proud of about it. It's become a supplement to my coverage. Just aside from covering things and posting things online and working for the paper, the Twitter account has become a supplement to my coverage. It's become a meeting place for the community. It's become a way to tweet out scores when people want to be a part of something. It's not just mine, it also belongs to the community, and that's what I'm most proud of. And it's kind of somewhat like a meeting place for the community, and it's grown into its own monster. And you know, people think I'm a celebrity out here, you know, so that's kind of been an added thing, and that's been really cool. But I think the one thing that you can take away from it as a young journalist is just, you know, today's business in this business is about technology. It is about social media. It's about Facebook. It's about Twitter. It's about Instagram. It's about all of that. Just using different avenues and different ways to reach your followers and your readers, whether you're blogging. It could be sports, it could be news, it could be politics, it could be anything. But Twitter has really changed the way we, as journalists, we go about our business and the way we do things. And it's really helped me create a brand. And I think that's one thing you'll hear a lot from your teachers today, and even your professors when you get to college, that as journalists, we should be able to create our own brand, create our own following, and use that to bring people back to our coverage and what we write, and to continue to push, you know, what we write and the work that we do. But I mean, it's an extreme blessing. I love what I do. I basically get paid to watch high school sports. I mean, that's just the best job in the world for me, and I've had so much fun doing it. And you know, I can't wait to do it even longer. I hope I can do this for the rest of my life.
And I'm Zac Babb. I work with Texas Sports Radio Network. They go around, call mostly high school basketball, football, and baseball games. And then a couple years ago, I started my own little coverage site called Varsity Wires. I did this for about half my high school career. I joined journalism my junior year. Cy Falls in the mid-2000s, it had probably one of the best journalism programs in the entire state of Texas. And then it severely dwindled thereafter, and they got desperate for having people who could do anything for them, and one of those was a sports writer and sports editor, and they reached out to me on a whim. I knew someone sort of who was in journalism already and knew that I like sports, and they said, hey, we need a sports writer. You want to come join journalism? And so I did. I was originally in band at Cy Falls. I left that at the end of my sophomore year and started at journalism at Cy Falls in the fall of 2011. I was originally there as somewhat of a beat writer to kind of get my footing going. I did a lot of quick writes and just game recaps for the football team. Those never really caught on to a massive scale for me, but what I always liked to do and always had my eye on from a very young age was to do play-by-play stuff. For football and whatnot, and so another one of the kids who was in journalism at the time with me knew how to set up a live broadcasting system on this little service called Ustream that we put together, and we started going to the Berry Center and live and video casting Cy Falls football games, and that's what really caught on for me initially, and that ended up culminating with Cy Falls playoff game against Elsick that 2011 season, where we had 626 people tune into the broadcast, and one of those 626 people happened to be the top two people at TSRN, the CEO and then the VP of Business Operations, and so they reached out to me wondering if they were losing one of their Cy-Fair coverage guys to he was moving out to El Paso, and they asked if I wanted to take his place, and so I accepted, and I spent my senior year covering the entire district for TSRN. After my senior year came to an end, I kept doing all the stuff with journalism as well my senior year and doing radio at the same time. When my senior year came to an end, I was looking at colleges, and one wasn't really looking at me over, or one didn't really appeal to me over the other, and of course the price of colleges being so high nowadays, I elected to stay here and just go to Lone Star, get my basic classes done a normally cheaper price than going elsewhere. But of course, Lone Star being as small as it is, just being a community college, they don't have any sports teams there. So I thought, since I already had my foot in the door a couple years out here in Cy-Fair, that I figured I may as well just keep at it. TSRN offered me let me keep my position where I was, and so I kept doing stuff with them. Excuse me. And so, but as an additional thing to kind of supplement what I normally did at Cy Falls, doing coverage beyond just radio broadcasting, is where I came up with the idea for Varsity Wires, is to kind of have like a small NFL.com, so to speak, just to cover Cy-Fair football, because there wasn't really anything out there for that particularly. There are small things like Max Preps and Dave Campbell's Texas Football, but there was nothing really in depth that kept up with it at all. So I figured, well, if I'm going to be here for the next 2 years, I may as well try and expand on that and see what it can do. And so I started that up. I built the website, HTML and CSS, and nearly fried my brain out putting that together, but I got it up, and then I showed Adam what I was doing, and Adam gave me a lot of publicity for it, and that really got the ball rolling, and now I'm up to 2,000 something followers on Twitter. Especially during Cy Ranch's run to the state title last year, the website started getting 2,000 hits, per day, just trying to keep up with everything that was going on with Cy Ranch's state title run. So it's kind of grown for me into something that I can do, not just besides radio, but try and open myself up to other mediums that I can do as well, and kind of continue what I did at Cy Falls, and try and further my career, because this is what I want to do for a career, and see what I can do moving forward.
Awesome. All right, we're going to open it up for questions. Just say your name and your school, and then who your question is for, if it's for Adam or Zach or for both of them, and they will answer for you.
Okay, Sarah from Cy Falls. This is for both of y'all. What is your favorite sport to cover and why?
I'm from Texas, so I like football. But I've always thought, as a sports writer, you kind of have to have a love and appreciation for every sport, because you never know when you're gonna have to cover it. So I love watching everything, to tell you the truth, and I do watch everything. I watch baseball. We talk a lot about baseball, don't we? Yeah. And I love football, basketball. I watch a lot of hockey. I watch track. Yeah, I know you like that. I watch everything. I watch cricket. I watch soccer. I watch everything. So you just try to, like I said, be a sponge and have a little bit of love and appreciation for everything. But I mean, I grew up in Texas. I played football in high school. So I mean, it's just something special when you're covering football during the season. And it's football weather, and it's just different. It's different in this area. It's different all over the state, and it means something to people when you're writing about football. It gets a few more hits. Am I right, Zach? It gets a few more hits on the website, a few more people listening, because it's just a sport that means something a lot to us. So if I had to choose one, it would definitely be football.
For me, it's football as well. I kind of had to learn to appreciate other sports. I've watched, my family's from Minnesota, so I'd watch hockey until my ears bleed. But I watched a lot of football living down here in Texas. I watched a lot of basketball and baseball as well. Beyond that, though, I kind of had to be taught to enjoy other sports, I guess, for lack of a better term. My journalism instructor in high school once made me go do play-by-play of a diving meet down at Cy Springs, which I hated with all my might. But
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, but it kind of taught me to appreciate and cover the other sports as well. But yeah, for me, it's to pick one sport, it's football.
That's a good question.
This is for Adam. I'm headed to Ole Miss in the fall to major in journalism.
Cool.
But being on the newspaper staff in college, what was that like for you? I kind of want to be on the Daily Mississippian, but I'm hesitant.
Yeah.
It's a different pace.
Yeah, it's definitely a different pace, and that's a great question. I mean, for me, it just it gave me the kind of the experiences I needed for the real world, honestly. And I don't think that's something that can be assimilated in class very much. You can take a lot from class. You know, when you major in journalism, you'll take media law and things of that sort. You can take a lot from class, but you can take what you get from class and supplement it and apply it to what you do at the Daily Mississippian. So for me, I think it just adds to your experience, and it gives you some great clips as well from when you do actually have to apply for a job when you're about to graduate. For me, I mean, I loved it. It was, I lived and breathed it. I mean, I was in that newsroom every day, even on the weekends. It was just, it was a huge part of my college experience, and I think I would suggest doing it, you know, definitely. I mean, at any school, especially a school like Ole Miss. And I'm not sure if you'll do sports or news, but whatever you do, you'll definitely get a chance to cover a lot of cool stuff out there. It's just a great way to get experience, get clips, and as opposed to just going to class. You get, I guess, kind of an edge or a different experience than some of your other classmates.
My name is Jimmy, and I'm just like you said you got to meet Michael Crabtree.
I did.
Have you met anyone else?
Oh man. Jose Altuve recently, it was just a couple months ago, I went out to cover some things for the Associated Press with the Astros, and I got a chance to see him. And I got a chance to see Robbie Grossman as well. That's who I was doing a story on, actually, when I was over there. I saw, let's see, Michael Beasley, who plays in the NBA. I saw him play and got a chance to talk to him when he was at Kansas State. Michael Crabtree, Graham Harrell, all those famous guys from Texas Tech. Man, I've been Robert Griffin. You know, I just saw a lot of guys in college. I got a chance to talk to them and interview them, I guess before they were famous. So I've seen a lot of guys before they were famous, I guess you could say that, yeah. So, and that's been really cool. That's been the really cool part of it too. It's just getting a chance to see guys before they really get out there on TV and they're everywhere, you know, just getting a chance to see them in their infancy, yeah.
Dwight Howard at Cypress.
Oh yeah, of course, no, how could I forget Dwight, yeah, Dwight was cool, you know, he had a lot of fun with that, didn't he? Yeah, that was a lot of fun, yeah, but seeing Dwight, that was really cool, and just getting a chance to interview those guys was really nice, yeah.
Question for Zach. So as a full-time student, how do you balance all your classes and all the homework and studying with all the work you put into everything you do?
Lack of sleep. Yeah, I don't remember the last time I went to bed before midnight. It's one of those things where if you love it enough, you'll sacrifice things like sleep to keep doing it enough. But yeah, I enjoy it enough that if I have to stay up till 1 or 2 a.m. working on a paper that's due for chemistry the next day at Lone Star, after I've done all my sports-related things, then I'll keep doing it.
By the way, I'm Abby from Cypress. I forgot to mention that the
Oh,
first time. So I want to be a sports journalist,
Okay.
and being a woman. I mean, okay, well, never mind, scratch that. How many, like, being in the sports world, so to speak, like, how many women do you see, like, doing what you guys do?
Yeah. Personally, I see it a lot more now, I guess, than ever. The Rockets beat writer, Jenny Dow, I know her personally. She's a good friend of mine. I mean, she does an amazing job. And you see it a lot also in broadcast journalism, you know, with sports writers as well, sports journalism. But sports writers and print journalism specifically, I mean, I see it now more than ever, and you see a lot more women getting into it. And I think it's, you know, people should accept it. You know, I know there are those old ways and people have certain feelings about it, you know, but don't let things like that hold you back, you know, because there are a lot of women, a lot of great female journalists out there, and not just in sports, but in news as well, that are, you know, just as good as anybody. And today, I think we see everyone equally, you know, but you see it now more than ever, and I think you're going to continue to see more, yeah.
I
Yeah.
concur.
Yeah.
Nothing more to add.
No more to add, yeah. I got some questions.
I'm
calling people out.
Zach,
Yes.
about Varsity Wires when you go to school. Where does that stand? Are you still gonna do it?
Oh goodness. I don't know. I've talked about turning it into an archive of nothing but records for the for football. Just go back and see here's how Cy-Fair did in '74 or whatever. Because I don't know if it'll survive in its current form, but I intend to keep it up somewhere or another. I just haven't made a final decision on that yet. So.
I'll take it over for you, man.
On both things.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm Diana from Dress Village, and what perspectives do you see like as you job? Do you think you're gonna like be forever in sports journalism, or do you see like some kind of what do you see your future? How do you see it?
Yeah, Zach, you wanna?
For me, I hope, as at least my vision I have right now in my head, is to stay with this type of stuff as long as possible. I'd like to go into radio a bit more than print and writing stuff. I think my skills there are much better than they are for writing. But I mean, I think it's somewhere in my bio too. I do I build small websites for a little company so I mean, the whole train could fall apart and I can end up writing HTML for the rest of my life too. So, but right now I'd like to do the radio stuff as long as I can.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do this forever as well. I would love to. A lot of people ask me, "Do you want to go to ESPN?" And I tell people I just want to. If I could cover high school sports forever, I would really do that just because I enjoy it that much, and I think it's just much more on a personal level. You can connect with people. So if I could find a way to do this forever, it would be awesome. But I've also thought about teaching. I've talked to people about that, and in the future moving into a teaching career and doing something like that. So I mean, I think you can use journalism to go into many other different avenues. So but I mean, I'm having so much fun right now. It's so hard to think about anything else. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Chloe from Cypress Creek.
Mm-hmm.
What colleges would you recommend for programs of journalism to go into sports journalism?
There are a lot. Texas Tech University. That's it. There are a lot of great schools. I know Kansas has a good program. Ole Miss that's a good one to go to. Arkansas,
Yeah, Arkansas.
Yeah.
They're more broadcasting.
Yeah. Arkansas, as far as broadcasting goes, there are a lot of great schools you can go to. I think Missouri has a great program as well. They might have the best in the country, I think. Sam Houston has a good program too. I think that's more focused on broadcast journalism though as well. There are a lot of different schools you can go to that have great programs, and it's really just how you apply the knowledge. You could go to anywhere and get the same education. It's just in a different experience. It just usually depends on how you apply it. What you learn, how you apply it. So you could go to UH and work for the Daily Cougar or do some things there and still have a great career. But there are a lot of different options. Yeah, Texas has a great program as well, but Texas Tech is the best.
Well, for Adam, since there's like a billion sports, and how do they all overlap? How do you pick which ones you're gonna do, and how do you make your week up?
It's pretty tough. I mean, you kind of have to prioritize a little bit. I mean, during football season, it's pretty straightforward. There's volleyball on Tuesdays, and then your weekend is nothing but football. It's pretty straightforward. But during the spring, everything is happening at the same time, so it's kind of tough when you're one guy because a lot of sports teams you don't really get a chance to see until toward the end of the season. For example, soccer is pretty tough to get to during this time of year because girls basketball is about to start up. Girls basketball playoffs is about to start up. Boys basketball playoffs is about to start up, and then baseball is about to start, and then softball is about to start. So you kind of have to prioritize and just try to make time for everybody, and just use your best judgment, and try to make sure you see a little bit of everything every week, But I mean, there are times when I'll go to a game and I'll miss something big in a different sport, but I don't regret missing this because I still got a chance to go see this team that I haven't seen in a while or go cover this team that I haven't seen in a while. So really, in my position, it's just really all about using your best judgment and trying to attack it the best way you can. Yes.
Best rivalry that you love to cover.
There are a lot. Right now, I think Woods and Ranch is my favorite rivalry. I think Woods and Ranch is my favorite rivalry right now. And really, a lot of it is because, I mean, they're two really good athletic programs that are pretty much good at everything, and they very much mirror each other. But, you know, there's a lot of banter back and forth on Twitter, you know. I'm in the cut looking at it and just laughing to myself, you know, usually. But Woods and Ranch is my favorite right now. I think the Falls-Langham, you know about this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Falls-Langham rivalry is pretty special. And there are a lot of rivalries that are like, you know, it's really like a one-sport rivalry. Like, I think Langham and Springs, it's a very big boys basketball rivalry, but maybe not in other sports. And Lakes and Springs in basketball is a very huge deal. Yeah, so those are some of my favorites. But, I mean, I love the rivalries in this district because they mean something, you know. And a lot of these rivalries go back in Fair Creek. You know, you have people, you know, my cousin played against your cousin, and now we're playing, and I'm going to beat you, and stuff like that. That really means a lot. Yeah. So.
I think same for me. Right now, it's Woods and Ranch, at least in terms of competitiveness and how they are close to each other. But I called the Fair Creek football game this past fall. There were some nasty things between both of those schools, even at the game. It was, even though Fair won, what, 21-0?
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, it was still, you know, brutal.
Yeah, man.
The Falls-Langham one has a special place in my heart because I was supposed to go to Langham. I transferred before my freshman year to Falls. So every time Falls and Langham played each other and everything, I get to see everybody I went to school with since I was 5 years old and talk smack with them about whatever too. So, but I think actively Woods Ranch right now for me.
We got Woods and Ranch sitting right next to each other.
Oh, we do? Okay, yeah.
Beat from Falls, what's the most memorable game that both of you recall?
Man, that is so tough because there are so many great memories. Was this 3 years ago, the Fair Falls football game?
Hail Mary?
Yeah.
2012.
20
so just over 2.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was week 9 in football season, and Cypher had to win that game, and they had to beat Creek the next week to make the playoffs as a 4th seed. And I think Ryan Bradshaw, Logan Taylor threw.
Yeah, Logan Taylor to Preston Wallace.
Yeah.
34 yards.
Yeah, something like, that might have been it. But it was a touchdown, no time left. The game was rain delayed at the Berry Center. It was crazy. It was very, very emotional. That's probably one of my favorite moments to cover. I think the Ranch Manville playoff game at the Berry Center was really cool. The Fair Ranch baseball playoff series this past year, that was really cool. It was a very emotional, the fan bases were very into it. That was really cool. Any Lakes and Springs boys basketball game, if you've never been to a Lakes and Springs boys basketball game, do yourself a favor and go. It is unbelievable, just the fan support that both of those teams get for that game. I mean, there are so many great moments that I've seen, and it's so hard to pinpoint one, but one that, when you ask that question, the first one that comes up to me is the Fair Falls game in 2012, football. So that was a lot of fun to cover, yeah.
I think the one fresh on my mind is that same Fair Falls game, because that was my senior year of high school. When I was going to Falls, and Fair beat us on a Hail Mary, I'm calling the game on the radio, trying to be impartial.
That's tough. That's tough.
And so I'm going nuts up in the press box in the Berry Center, but in the back of my head, I'm like, my team just got beat on a Hail Mary. This sucks.
Hi, I'm Gabby with Jersey Village. With the rivalries, do you think it'll change for the better or the worse when it splits up into the 2 different athletic districts coming up?
Yeah, man, that's an awesome question, because the scary part is nobody knows how they're going to split it, So when high school number 11, if anybody doesn't know, they're building 2 more high schools eventually, and number 11 is coming in 2016, I think. So right now, the UIO, they're waiting on the UIO to split the district, but nobody knows how they're going to split it. So, it would really suck if they said, okay, Woods, you go here, and Ranch, you go here, or Langham, you go here, and Falls, you go here. So that would really suck if it happened, but it might mess up the rivalries, and it might not. They might try to keep it together. But ultimately, it's up to the UIL. And what they might do if they split them up is say, hey, let's just play each other in non-district. But that might lose a little bit of meaning, you know, because when you're playing Woods and Ranch, it's usually for a playoff spot. It usually means something. This game counts, or Langham Falls, or Fair and Creek. So, I mean, it could change a lot of things. But on the flip side, just talking to a lot of administrators, you could have like 8 Cypress teams in the playoffs, and you could have 2 Cypress teams playing really deep in the playoffs in any given sport. It could be like, I guess, a state semifinals is how it would work if they were to meet. So there are a lot of crazy possibilities that will happen once high school number 11 gets here, but nobody knows how they're going to split it. Nobody knows how they're going to, you know, what they're going to use as the dividing line. I mean, are you going to just take the schools, you know, in this side of 290 or over here and put them over here? You know, nobody knows what's going to happen, so that's the scary part. So hopefully they can keep some rivalries together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one bummer, is that it's the UIL guys in an office in Austin who decide how it's going to be split, not anybody out here. It's going to be the one bummer. But yeah, there's the possibility of out of districts, but you know, like you were saying, that you know, it'd lose a bit of its meaning when you're playing each other basically for no reason other than to have 10 games on your schedule by the end of the season. But yeah, when 11 and 12 show up, and I think there's a plan for 13, isn't there, in place?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Maybe long term.
Maybe long term, but yeah. But I've heard things like there's discussions about, you know, putting, once you get to 12, putting 6 in Region 3 and 6 in Region 2, which would make it really interesting, because if you have 2 powerhouses now coming out of Cy-Fair, they could play each other for the state title. So.
But the travel would be crazy.
The travel would be crazy though, yeah. My freshman year of high school, when I was in band, and we were in 15-5A out in Region 2, the 2 awkward years Cy-Fair was in Region 2, we had to drive to Round Rock for a first round playoff game. 4 hours, Cy Falls got their butts kicked, 52-7, and we came back home at 4 in the morning.
And yeah, to add to that, I mean, I think coaches like playing in Region 3 most of the time, because you know who you're going up against. You know it's Katy. You know you're going against Alding schools. You know you're going to see, Manville. But Region 2, you're playing an Austin team that nobody's ever seen before, and you know, with these other teams in Region 3, you have an idea of what they're going to look like. So, but that would be crazy if they did that. They put 6 teams in Region 2 and 6 in Region 3, and the UIL might do that. That's just the scary part. You know, you never know.
It's like even when we had those 2 years, what was it, 08 and 09, when Cy-Fair was in 15-5A, you know, the schools just down the road, out in Katy ISD, they were 17-5A at the time, and they were in Region 3. So you had schools right down the street in a totally different region than you. So, you know, it's up to how they decide to, you know, drop a bunch of string all over a map and decide this is how we're going to divide it. So.
I think we got time for one more question.
Did you have one more? Yeah.
What part of your career makes it all worthwhile?
Oh man, that's a hard one. That is a hard one, but I think I get goosebumps when, you know, and my heart starts pounding when those games that come down to the wire and the student sections are, you know, going back and forth and yelling at each other, and just those moments, you know, you wish you could just pause them and just stay in those moments forever. It could be a basketball game, it could be a football game, baseball, it could be anything, but those down to the wire moments, you know, you don't want to trade that for anything, because I find myself looking at those moments and like, man, I have the best job in the world, you know, and I get to wake up and watch sports, you know, for a living, and those moments stay with you forever, and it makes it worthwhile, because it's a lot of work. A lot of people think, you know, I just tweet and go home and go to sleep. You know, it's a lot more than that. You know, I have to, you know, write things, and you know, I have to make sure take care of a sports section for a paper, you know, and I have to do a lot of different things, you know. But I love what I do. You have to really love this business, and when you're in those moments covering a game, you have no allegiance to either team, but your heart is pounding just as much as anybody else because it's that great. I mean, it makes it all worth it for me.
Yeah, it's more of the same for me. You just, you know, when you have those moments, you know, Hail Mary wins, you know, missed field goals, you know, that are all deciding games, and you're up there getting paid to do it. That's the best part when you know, all right, we got a game at 7 tonight. We got to set up radio equipment, so I need to be at the very center at 4 p.m. You know, and just get to do that every weekend in the fall, and make a couple bucks in the process as well. You know, doing something that you're not a lot of people can say you get paid to to work for your passion. So you know, you savor every moment of it that you can.
Awesome. Oh,
Sarah, did you have one more?
Oh, I did. I just want to know, what was y'all's biggest challenges, like, trying to get to where you guys are now, and what y'all's biggest achievements that, like, you could just brag about all day and just be like, this is what happened, but I made it here because of this?
For me, it was just the learning curve, really. Just kind of understanding business and learning how to write. First and foremost, you know, you have to learn how to write. It's not just AP style, but you have to learn how to tell a story, because what I do for a living, what he does for a living is, you know, it's entertainment. You know, people come to you, you are the bridge between the fans and the team, and that's on any level. That could be professional, that could be on the college level, that could be on the high school level. And you have to take that role seriously, but you also have to know how to write and know how to use your words, and for me, it was learning how to do that, and I guess the learning curve and learning different sports, how to cover different sports, what to say, what questions to ask, how to be a journalist, and just starting off, you know, that was kind of the toughest thing for me, just getting over that hump. And it took some years, but you just have to stay in it, and you have to have a genuine appreciation, you know, of the journalists who have been doing this for years and years and years. And yeah, what about you?
More the same for me, just learning, you know, how to write, how to cover this stuff. I don't write as much as I used to, but you know, just learning what goes into all this stuff, and you know, to create a following and, you know, put out a product that people will enjoy and, you know, are willing to come back to, and, you know, whether it be listen or read or, you know, whatever, something along those lines.
Yeah, and you had a second question, my proudest achievement. Yeah, when I was in college, we used to have a staff meeting every Thursday or every Friday, and they would give out awards for the week. First time I ever got an award was outstanding staff member. It was a slip of paper. It was like this big, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me, because I worked so hard for it, and I think I was a sophomore at the time, and I still have that piece of paper sitting on my dresser, right on the mirror. And I mean, it means a lot to me because I worked so hard for it. And it's very little, it's like a little piece of paper. It just printed it out, but it meant a lot to me. And there are so many other awards and things that I've earned in my life, but just that first one for my career, that just gave me all the confidence in the world. So that meant a lot to me.
For me, as a career highlight, it's kind of a bittersweet one for me in a way. My senior year, I went for Texas High School Journalist of the Year, which would have, if you win, you get thrown into the award for the National High School Journalist of the Year, and I came in second by 2 or 3 points. So it was still second in Texas, but which, you know, that's woo, but still missed it barely.
All right, well, let's everyone thank Adam and Zac for coming. Thank you guys so much. And I know Abby's going out for Journalist of the Year, so you can get her some tips for that too.
There you go.
Guys, feel free, we definitely want to get a photo with everyone up here, so if you can make your way up this way, and then feel free to stay after and ask these guys anything you want.